do you want us to have, our faces visible or hidden, or doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. I guess if your faces are visible, be careful not to make sour faces if you don't like to welcome to our second seasonal image competition. We have 3 wonderful judges here today, and unfortunately we do not seem to have your bio, so I'm going to have perhaps you introduce yourself. We also have Joyce, who will be doing all the image critiques at the end. If you wish for an image critique, please message her in the chat separately, not publicly, so that if you do enter this image into IPC, later on, districts or IPC later on, that this still kind of remains anonymous in there. And we have Kevin, who'll be reading our categories and our titles as well. So Carrie, you're in position A, so I apologize, but I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and then Tammy and Chris.
So I am Carrie Dama, and I am from Dorr, Michigan, which is just outside of the Grand Rapids area.
Hey,
Welcome.
I am Tammy Mose. I'm from Columbus, Indiana.
And I'm Chris Paulus from Ellicott City, Maryland.
Great, welcome. Thank you for taking the time for this today. Our first category is fine art, and we will have Kevin read our description.
Fine art, illustrative or commercial. Fine art images are mainly subjects that can't talk back, with 2 subcategories: landscape and nature, and illustrative commercial. Illustrative commercial images created for a commercial client to advertise a product and or promote a brand or company. Images in this category can also be architecture, an interior or exterior of a structure, or within an industrial environment. Illustrative images can also be conceptual images that tell a story.
And our first title, please.
Our first one is Sunbeam on Cityscape.
Kathy, never mind. We're not going to need the ink. Go to text.
$78.
Beets.
$77.
Historic Bathhouse Row.
$77.
Fly Me to the Moon.
$78.
The Speed of Light.
$81.
Steel Magnolia.
$85.
And the last one in this category, A Classic Beauty.
$77.
Okay, we move to the next category, which is Fine Art, Landscape, Nature. Landscape nature. This subcategory shares joy and adventures while expressing a sense of place. Wild animals in an uncontrolled lighting environment, zoo animals, flowers, seascapes, cityscapes, urban landscapes, and sunsets with or without people can be placed here. Pet portraits would go to portrait. Okay. Our first one, the alpha.
$78.
Lily pads.
$75.
Intense focus.
$83.
Challenge.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you.
I place this in the excellent category with an 86, and initial impact is very strong, and it's more than just subject in this case. I like that there is great sharpness from the nose back through the eyes. It starts to back off a little beyond that, but the mask of the face is in great exposure, great light, and good sharpness. I'd love to hear others' views.
Yeah, I scored this. This is Carrie. I scored this an 80, deserving of a merit. I enjoy this image, as was mentioned, the sharpness from front to back, even into the ears. The technical side of this was handled very well. The only thing I think that was holding me back from going a little bit higher was the flat lighting on it, but I could be chalked up.
This is Tammy. I think I scored this. Oops, I don't know what I scored this. I think it was like 83. I absolutely love the impact of this image, but honestly, the more I'm looking at it, with it appears like this background has been brought in. And if you look around the edges of like where it would have been masked in, the fur is like blurry, but then the edges of the masking is sharp. And I kind of think that it should have been a softer transition between the two.
Okay, in rebuttal, I'm not seeing evidence of a background other than the bokeh of that background. I think the fact that we have a slight softening up on that camera left ear and the lower edge, the flanks of the animal, I think we've got a rather shallow depth of field that accounts for some softness, but the hairs that stick out over that background are perfectly sharp. There's no evidence of this being extracted from a background and replaced. So I'm perfectly fine with that and think it's well done. And actually, I think that this maker has chosen the perfect aperture for this in order to get everything sharp where it needs to be and allow that background to fall into a beautiful bokeh. As for light direction, look at the camera right eye. I do like that that we've got a little bit of a shadow there that is being cast on that eye, and I think there's shadowing below the head. So it's a high left light position, but in a situation like this, I'm not sure how much we could control that or expect it to be different. So I'm going to keep my score at 86 and hope that you all can join me.
Okay, thank you. If you would please rescore. $84. Thank you, judges.
The pursuit.
'82.
A mother's love.
'82.
Buzz off, she's mine.
Okay, we have an 80, but we have a majority challenge. So in this case, that means that two were under 80 and one was above. So if this here is not a traditional challenge and that there's no rebuttal, but if we could have each of the judges comment and we will rescore this, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll start. I scored this an 83, deserving of a merit. I think this was handled very well. The focus is exactly where it needs to be, right on that B. When you get into that macro photography, the fall off is so great there. I'm okay with a little bit of it falling off on the bottom right-hand corner of the flower. And the bokeh is done beautifully. There were a few things that were holding me back from going higher, and maybe that's what was keeping my fellow jurors out of the merit category, but I'll let them address that.
I scored this, the 78, and I guess what was holding me back was kind of the pink line around the outside, on the border, and I kind of think there might have been a better cropping to help with the composition.
Hey, I too was 78, and for the same reason that that pink presentation is distracting, keeps pulling me off of the B. I agree also with the crop. It's uncomfortable for me that the pink line intersects the tip of that petal, and so I'd love to see just a little bit of space there, and perhaps things moved so the B is closer to a power position. So it just fell a little short for me, but I agree it's a beautiful image.
Okay, again, this was a majority challenge, so there's no rebuttal in this particular case, but if the judges would please rescore this. Thank you. '79. Thank you, judges.
Farm fly over.
'76.
I'm not Polly, and I definitely don't want a cracker.
'79.
We're gathered here today
'77.
catch of the day.
'82.
Challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, I had this in the next category, in the excellent category at an 85. We've got extreme sharpness on every drop of water, every drop of, or every hair strand, nice fall off to the background. What a great position with the, fish and in the mouth. I just think this is handled very well done in the excellent category.
Yeah, I scored this in 82, deserving of a merit. I think this is a great capture. And a great time to catch this image. I guess I was looking, I thought maybe it was a little bit over sharpened, actually, that it lost some of the, a little bit natural softness that, might have been like in some of the fur areas and, around the foot, and some of the water drops just seemed a little bit over.
I placed this in the above average category at 78 for both of the reasons stated. The sharpness is really what slowed me down. So I will be anxious to hear the rebuttal.
Yeah, so in rebuttal, I guess the only complaint that I heard was the over sharpening, which to me, the over sharpening is what gives it the impact. I think if this were any softer, it would just look flat and wouldn't have a lot of impact, and we'd lose the texture of the bear into the texture of the background. So to me, that sharpening was appropriate to bring that bear forward and bring it out. The way he's off to the side, we've got a leading area to our right-hand side, which gives him some place to go. And just the positioning of this moment caught in nature, I think this was handled very well. So I'm happy with a score of 85 and hope you join me.
Great. Thank you, judges. If you would rescore, please.
Oops, scorekeeper was not ready, it said. There we go.
84. Thank you, judges.
Church on the Green.
$76.
Tiny fuel stop.
$84.
Challenge. I'm in the excellent category at 86, and this has lasting impact for me. I love the composition. I love the painterly technique here. It appears that this has been painted, but it's been done in such a delicate fashion that it adds to the pleasing response I'm having.
Yeah, I scored this an 83, deserving of a merit. And I too think it has a great impact, especially that blue eye. I guess the only little part I didn't like was that tuft of fur on the back of his head. I feel that doesn't quite blend as well with the rest of the bird, but I could definitely come up.
I also scored this in 83. And for me, I mean, the impact was nice. I think it's a really it's different point of view than a lot of times that we see bird images. What held me back was kind of like the different treatments, like the edges of the fur moving into, it's hard to tell if that's the back belly, kind of on the right hand side. You see really sharp feathery edges next to a really soft technique right next to it, and to me it doesn't really like come together in those areas.
Okay, as I look in more closely, I do see fine lines in those areas of that look softer, and I think the edges stand out more because they contrast with that darker background. I always find myself looking and wondering the same thing, and there are places that are very sharp, like the talons or the feet or whatever they are, but it seems to work here. I don't get the feeling that that the technique has been inconsistent. I think it's just been rather well focused. I like that little bit of feather flying off the right side. It tells me this is a real bird, and real birds don't always have their feathers in the right places. So I like that little touch. I'm going to stick with my score at 86 and vote your conscience.
Great. Thank you, judges. Who would rescore, please?
Did mine go through? No.
Carrie, no, I do not see a score.
Okay. I think I tend to try to type it in before you're ready.
Yeah, it has to pop up again. Great. Thank you, judges. 85. Great job.
Small town sunset.
$75.
Slice of heaven.
$75.
The challenge.
$85.
Trucks in the woods.
$77.
Dewdrop.
$81.
Calm before the storm.
$89.
Challenge.
Okay.
I'm in the next category up, superior at 92, and fear that I might have even underscored it at that. There are so many things I love about this image. Powerful impact, great color balance, this palette of browns and yellows and grays, and the intensity in those eyes, the sharpness. This is so well done.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for challenging it. I was at 89, and after I typed that in, I thought I might have to challenge myself on this one. So I feel I underscored it, and I go down the list of the 12 elements and what impact this has, what technical excellence, the creativity, the style, everything about this is just handled very well.
I love this bird and the position, and I could go up.
Okay, y'all haven't given me any reason to think otherwise, and Carrie's thought makes me think, yeah, I think I may have underscored it. Gosh, look at the outer wings, look at the whiskers, look at the power position of this bird. I'm going to raise my score to a 96.
Great. Thank you, judges. Please rescore. $96.
Rise.
That one disappeared from the screen. Did we?
Oh, 78.
Oh, okay.
Timeless mystery of life.
'83.
Purple rain, purple rain.
'79.
Oh, I want to challenge that. Yeah, I scored this an 83, deserving of a merit. I think this was handled very well. I enjoy that the maker chose to bring out some of the detail in the foreground instead of letting that all go dark. We've got a great capture as far as the dynamic range go, catching the light in the aurora and then also, you know, into the foreground here. So I think this is deserving of a merit.
I scored this a 77, and I kind of, I felt like the initial was, you know, a little bit too dark, and when it was brought up, it left it to be kind of a little bit grainy and crunchy at the bottom. But I mean the colors are beautiful though.
Yeah, I was at 78, and probably because of the super sharpness down low and right along that tree line to the right, there seem to be almost white dots in there that I don't appear to be coming through the trees, but they could be. I also find that the distortion here with the left-hand trees leaning to the right-hand trees leaning to the left, it just keeps pulling my eye off of the soft beauty of the colors in the sky.
All right, in rebuttal, there's a couple other things that I'm going to see, and I kind of want to talk to about them in case the maker's going to come back and you know, listen to this, or if the maker's here. There are also some smudgy areas under the presentation on the left-hand edge in the tree line and below that. So I'm not sure what's going on with the background of that border on the presentation. And taking note of some of the things with the lens distortion, the graininess, I don't mind that as much because you know, you have to get that grainy at that high ISO and you know, shutter speeds in order to capture something like this. But I'll be lowering my score to a 79.
Okay, thank you, judges. Please rescore. 78.
All right, last one in this category, Tranquil Harbor.
'78.
Our next category is artistry. The purpose of this competition is to allow the entrant to demonstrate their art skills. The judges will place emphasis, will be placed on digital, artistic, and technical proficiency. You must include guide images. Images without guide images are scored but not eligible for awards. For this category only, you may use elements like texture, stock images. The main subject must be photographed by the maker. Note this differs from current PPA rules. All right.
Are guide prints required in this category?
Yes,
Okay.
But you said we score them, it just wouldn't be eligible for awards, right?
correct.
Okay.
Morning coffee on the river.
78,
Waiting.
$77.
That was the last in artistry. We now go to portrait animals. The animal should be the main subject. Environmental and animal pictures go into nature. These images typically involve controlled lighting and/or posed subjects. All right. Be heaven.
$77.
Plight of the bumblebee.
$81.
Zucchini leaf expert.
$75.
Okay, that was the last of the portrait animals. We now have portrait general. The human should be the main subject. These images typically involve controlled lighting and posed subjects. Couples, children, high school senior, families, models, fashion portraits, groups, bat mitzvahs, quinceañeras, etc. Wedding portraits outside of the wedding actual event. Okay. Dying light.
$78.
Calling the clan.
$81.
The final goodbye.
$78.
Color paradigm.
$79.
That was the end of portrait general. We have one for portrait 18 and under. Portrait children and seniors 18 and under. The human should be the main subject. These images typically involve posed subjects and controlled lighting. Queen Mary in Reign Series 4.
We have an 80 and we have a majority challenge. So there's two under 80 and one over. Chris, I'll have you take this, but there
Well,
is
I'll
no
take it as a,
rebuttal with
I'll
this.
challenge it then.
Oh, well, you'll challenge it, even better. Then
Yeah.
you can rebuttal.
Yeah,
Awesome.
then I can
Thank you.
rebut. Okay, yeah, so I place this in the merit category at 83. I find this, oops, can we, yeah. I think it's an interesting pose. I like that light effect on the left. I feel that she's well exposed. She's, I like the colors in this. Wait to hear from the others.
Yeah, I scored this a 77 in the above average category. And this is a beautiful model, beautiful costuming. I think it's got some great storytelling aspects to it. However, there were a few things that were holding me back from the merit. One of them is the background choice to me just doesn't go with the coloring of the rest of the image. It doesn't go well with the floor and her dress coloring. And then the other thing is her posing. And I look at how, we've got her eye cut off. It would be her right eye on our left-hand side there. Just the angle of her face should have been either a little bit more profile or a little less profile. To me, it's just that awkward cut of the face turn, and then the whole side body with her arm, coming right in at the side. She could have had a little bit more graceful turn and bend in the elbow and turn towards the camera just a hair more, and that would have totally helped this pose from being awkward, as well as the soft glow look from inside the lantern. To me, just doesn't fit with this image.
I scored this a 79 for a lot of the reasons stated with the background choice. The lighting effect does not transfer onto her body at all, and the texture from the background also is competing with her face, because we can see it so clearly and it's so sharp. I think that is not really working well, and just I feel like she's moving out of the picture, and rather than being a part of it.
Well, after listening to the other jurors, I have to agree. I'm going to lower my score to 79.
Thank you, judges. Please rescore. $78.
All right. Our final category today is reportage journalism. Images are pretty much straight out of the camera. The original capture image in RAW or JPEG must be available if requested by the committee. The only basic color and brightness adjustments, cropping, dodging, burning, are allowed. Images that illustrate an actual public or non-public event, life, an area of human interest, telling news that have meaning on the context or record of events, high impact and or lasting emotional response. Images that illustrate sporting events are included herein. No paid or time for subjects here. Only single capture images will be accepted. Composite multiple images are accepted. All day in the life of images can be entered here. All right. You shall not pass.
$78.
Going for the mail pouch.
$78.
Did I hear you say snacks?
$78.
And our final one, time capsule treasures.
$78. Okay. Thank you, judges. That was the last of the images. Like I said, it was unusual that we had a rather small group of images this month. We will pull together images for critique, and I believe that this will actually differ than how we did it in the past. I believe Jeff has added in that we can click on these bubbles and do the critiques right through here. And in the past, we weren't able to do that. So I'm going to take a look at that. And in addition, if there is an image that each of the three of you would pick as well, I'm going to start by marking.
Do you want us to wait until the critique to see if
Sure,
the image
yeah.
we were gonna pick was one that was asked for or
Yeah.
not?
That was
So we're
Okay.
doing this in the Zoom window now, right?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, maybe. Wait, let me think about that for a second. Normally, yes. And normally, but I see Jeff has added bubbles in, so I'm gonna give this a try. Let's see. If I click the bubble, yeah, I got the little yellow bubble. I think this has changed from last time. And I'm gonna go to Right, I think I can do it right through here. I believe I don't see how to select just the bubble ones, but I guess we just go down in order of the.
What
Okay.
happens if it looks like you've got, when your cursor is over it, I wonder if you click that magnifying glass that appears on it, if it'll then display it large.
Well,
You
I
see
think
it?
it display it
Yep.
large here. Oh, there's a magnifying glass? No,
Um,
that's a stupid Pinterest thing.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that's through that stupid ad.
But, oh, it showed up on the screen though.
It did.
Yeah, now we see 4 of them on our screen.
Yeah, it'd be nice if under the flagging here that showed up. All right, I'll just do them in order. So I'm just gonna go
Okay,
to here. The bubbles still appear. Okay, so I'm just gonna do the bubbles. We will not score these. These will just be for comments, please.
so will you, okay, so we're gonna,
This is
are you
still
gonna
within
tell us?
scorekeeper. Yep.
Yep, yeah. So repeat the title and the score it received. That
Steel
way,
okay.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Steel Magnolia, and it
Okay.
scored an 85.
okay. Do you want me to
Yeah,
volunteer.
You start that one and then we'll just.
Yeah, I believe I voted this up into the middle of the excellent category. I felt it's a very strong black and white image. I love the patterning. I love the way in which that light comes down almost in a leaf-like way in the center of the orb. The outer edges with those diagonal lines leading in. Very, very pleasing image.
Yeah, can I make a comment on this too?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. The black and white tonality was great. A couple things that I think could be helped with this image is if you look at the really thin line down the middle, you can see it in the white areas of the orb at the top. I would maybe take out that little tiny thin line. I think that's a little bit distracting, the one that's right in the center from the mirrored part of it. And then also the shading on this to me is a little bit confusing. I'm not sure if it was added in post or not, but if you look at the middle is shadowed in. And I'm having a confusing thought pattern in my mind of if it's recessed or out, is it in or out in the middle? Does it go down deeper or does it come out towards me in the middle? And my brain wants it to come out towards me, but the shadowing in the middle says otherwise. So to me, that was just a little bit conflicting in my brain, but very nice image.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed this image when it comes up, and I agree about that line, but it also makes me wonder if this wasn't like an image that was like folded in half to get the mirror side of it. And so then when you look down that same center line, you go down and there's like these tiny little triangular areas that I don't know if they should be gotten rid of or whatever, but it just where the bottom one makes a nice transition to the other side. The one up from it has like a little diamond in the center where it might have overlapped a little bit more. And I don't know if that's something that, if that's the way this image was made, or if that transition would be helped to make it appear that it transitioned a little bit more. And I also wondered what it would look like if you kind of brought up, it appears that there's like a secondary pattern behind the lower half of it. Like if you brought that out just a little bit more, would it help it? But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting graphic design.
Great, thank you, judges.
Title and score, and maybe call on somebody if
Okay,
you want us.
sorry, I lost sound there. A Classic Beauty is scored 77.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk about this one. What a fun car and a great a piece to photograph. The subject matter is right there. I think, what was hard on this one was the lighting and the reflections in the car. We can see the blue car or the other old car next to it in the reflection, as well as the photographer in front of the wheels. So to me, this would have had to have been more professionally lit to have it be a competition image in the competition. The bright sunlight on above the windshield there is a little bit distracting, as well as no presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also like distracting areas that are like behind the car, and like the wood and stuff. I know a lot of that's it just happens to be wherever the car show is. But if you like Carrie mentioned, the lighting and time of day would probably make a big difference.
And I hear it from guys who photograph cars and are in car groups, and that finding a good location for a classic car like this that provides a better context than a car on grass in the woods would up the impact as well.
Great, thank you, judges.
Lisa, I don't know what else you have, but I have Fly Me to the Moon, Rise, and Purple Rain.
Fly Me to the Moon, and it got a 78.
Who would like to start with that one?
Yeah, might be Tammy's turn.
Okay. And I think this is a nice concept. But I think we need to start with a sharper or you know, like a longer lens or something to get a moon picture that is sharper to begin with. Because the appearance of like the sharpening after has created lines around the jet and the moon itself. And then there's like this, and maybe it's like the lines from the jet engine that come out. It makes like a blurry path. It's really kind of hard to, and I wonder if this was like a single image or if it was like more than one.
Yeah, I would guess that it was a fortunate capture. I know
Yeah.
folks do watch for this kind of crossing like that. And, I just feel like it's a bit underexposed, and that creates some of that problem. I agree about the length of the lens and just not having much to work with here, and it becomes greeny because you're trying to blow it up. So that affects the quality of the finished image, but a neat capture.
Yeah, nothing new to add.
Great, thank you, judges.
Buzz Off, She's Mine. Scored
Okay.
a 79.
Yeah, I'm
We
glad
had-
we're
we had
talking
a
about this because
challenge,
we
yeah.
challenged on this.
Mhm.
Yeah, a couple things that I noticed right away, you know, the pink line is distracting. I think a nice soft light green or something maybe in the brown tones out of the brown part of the flower might have been a better choice, but something more subtle. And then as well as the presentation is off center. We've got a thinner border on the left-hand side as we do on the right-hand side. I really enjoy the bee capture in the top part of the flower. I think I was trying to challenge this one up into the merit category. So I think there's definitely a possibility in here. And I know it was talked about the placement of the bee and maybe cropping off some of that left-hand side to get a better point for the bee.
Mhm.
Yeah, couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. I think
Yeah.
it's I forget which category this was in, but this one is very sharp and well exposed, and just a nice image with potential for an easy merit.
And something, you know, like with the post-processing on this, I mean, getting a bee that sharp, I know is really, really difficult, you know, so it's great that we got that. I mean, all the little marks on the petals to me though are a little bit distracting. And I kind of feel like, you know, like if we cleaned up the petals and whatever is dark down below, like there's something on the stem that could be gotten rid of, and so that it doesn't like pull your eye down into that bottom corner, you know, and then adjust the cropping with a very thin line around it. Perhaps, you know, it could take it up higher.
And the point about the that leaf touching the edge, if there's no more to the right of that in the image, I'd consider removing that bottom petal and letting the one that's on top of it remain where it is, so that you do buy that little bit of space without the intersection.
Yeah. Or we could even crop it off further. You know, and bring it in closer so the B becomes more the center.
Great, thank you, judges. And the maker was not in the room when you challenged it, so it was wonderful that she got to that they got to hear this, and that they can watch the recording for the challenge part as well. So thank you.
I'm not Polly, and I definitely don't want a cracker. And it got a 79.
Mhm.
Okay, I think this one was pretty close in my thinking. Part of, I'm sure I was below the 80. It felt just shy of the merit for me. It felt like it needed to be a bit sharper through the feathers. I see that it is right on the mustache or whatever, and the eyes are, but it feels like it goes soft after that down below. And it almost, to me, feels like the white balance is slightly off, that we've got a bit of a golden tone to everything, including the skin tones below. And so that's why for me, I felt it didn't quite reach merit.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was you know, I love the owl. For me, the biggest distraction is the hand, and you know, the watch in particular. You know, so I think that if it were like cropped over, crop off a lot of the hand and give more room on the right hand side, perhaps the composition would be helped.
Yeah, nothing new to add.
Great, thank you, judges.
Church on the Green. That rated a 76.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. I think the scene is beautiful. You know, you've got your iconic country church there, so we've got some nice subject matter. The time of day is a little bit hard, but I think there were two things for me that were a little bit needed some work. The first one is the color balance, the tonality of it. If you know, we all know that church is probably white, and we're getting such magenta pink tones coming through in the whites that, to me, the color balance of the whole image is off a little bit. The reflection is nice, but then I would have liked to seen some of the little white dots and smuckiness in the water cleaned up a little bit more.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, judges.
Small Town Sunset, 75.
Okay, I'll be happy to tackle this one first. For me, while the time of day is lovely, and I'm sure that's what drew the camera shot, the glare off the front of those buildings is way overexposed, and it's even obscuring. They're a bit out of focus, as well as being blown out where those reflections are. The sky seems to be your main subject here, and maybe those buildings, but because this is such a wide image, composition of it doesn't really reinforce the strength of what it seems the story is that's being told. The cars here and the bright spot over here. So my eyes running all over the place, aside from this probable center of interest.
Yeah, I agree also with what was said. And you know, it's always a beautiful time of day to photograph at that golden hour. But when I look at the focus, if you look at the house on the far right, that seems to be the sharpest thing in focus. And so I'm not sure if this was a small portion out of a bigger picture, or why the focus didn't quite make it to where we want to see. And then the presentation color mat, and I was going to say this on the last one, and I thought maybe somebody else would say it, but the color of the mat doesn't really match with what we've got going on in the image itself.
Yeah, I don't really have anything new to add either. I almost just wish we could move the buildings out of the way and see the sunset.
Great, thank you, judges.
Dewdrop, 81.
Nobody else wants, I'll speak up on this one. Marvelous capture. It's tough enough to capture a hummingbird in flight, but to get it at this tack sharp throughout the body and the flowers themselves, nice bokeh. I like how most of the reds aren't directly behind the bird. And the little dewdrop is kind of cool, though I wish it were sharper, but I can certainly forgive that it's not fully sharp. Just a nice little image. I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, one critique that I would have is the sharp part of the flower on the lower right-hand corner. To me, that's a little bit distracting. My eye wants to look down at that. I think it would look better if that weren't there somehow, whether it be cropping or removing it in post somehow. And then the other thing is our eye is always drawn to the brightest part of the image. And right now we have two competing subjects. We have the flower and the bird. So if the flower can be toned down just slightly in our left-hand side of the flower, it is on the edge, but not in the piece that's right in front. And to me, that's just a little bit, it wants to draw my attention away from the bird. And I think, it'd be a little bit more pleasing if we went right to the hummingbird.
Mhm. Yeah. I think on the left-hand side, there's also some really sharp flower parts that are coming into the image from outside.
I think I meant that. I think maybe I said right. That's the ones I was
Mhm.
talking about too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the ones I was talking about. I didn't have my right and left bit.
Your other right hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's some on the right too, way at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, there are.
Yeah.
That's why I thought you were talking about it.
Yeah, so those definitely I would kind of crop off, and I know it's titled Dewdrop, but with the bright spot, I keep going to the drop, but I don't want to look at the drop. I want to look at the bird.
Mhm, mhm.
I might even just get rid of that and just have it the bird and the flower.
Or make something funny out of it.
Yeah.
Please think this is dew, or get us chuckling a little, thinking maybe it's not dew.
Great. Thank you, judges.
Rise, 78.
Yeah, I had a hard time with this one, knowing kind of where to put it. The impact for me wasn't there. It is a little bit different view, the subject matter. The presentation is okay, but I don't know what it is about this image. Just something isn't there to grab me, to give me a sense of merit. I guess that's all.
Right. I agree with that. I feel like the moon has been placed in to get it like as sharp as it is behind it, but yet it's not really, I feel like it's been sharpened behind there, but being that we've taken the picture from the back side and we're used to seeing the front side and the face of it, I'm seeing a face in the back of her head, which to me is like really confusing. And and having the moon circle that right behind it, and it's so sharply, I'm not understanding the image.
Okay, so I think I went just into merit for this one because I did appreciate the placement of the moon and the head of Lady Liberty, and I liked the yellows and greens. It wasn't knocking me over, but I thought this is kind of a neat little image. I wouldn't certainly go higher. I'd like to see a little more in the shadows near the bottom, and maybe it's that it's been vignetted down. Maybe that vignette down there shouldn't be there, so that the Lady Liberty stays anchored in her foundation. Yeah.
Purple Rain, 78.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one because I really enjoyed this one. I think this one does have potential also. As was mentioned during the challenge, just in case the maker wasn't able to hear the challenge, a couple things I would look out for is over sharpening a little bit on the bottom, maybe straightening that horizon a little bit, and doing a little bit of lens correction so we don't have such lean coming in the trees. We see a little bit of the white dots coming down into that tree line, and I think those could be cleaned up a little bit easier. I think those white dots appear more than what they are just out of the sharpening in the light colored at the horizon emphasizes that a little bit. I don't think you necessarily need quite as much on the top edge of this. And then again, looking at that border line around the back, the purple, the first border line, the purple color, there's some funny things going on that left-hand side right at the tree line. And I kind of see it, it almost looks like maybe you were doing a little bit of burning or dodging or something and missed and got onto the border.
It's below the right-hand rocks too.
Yes.
It is.
So
And
my-
yep.
So my thinking is that this is a very noisy image and which is understandable in a long shutter like this. And you see that primarily at the very bottom in the road, in the things that are there. So a little bit of treatment with noise reduction software could maintain the sharpness where you want the sharpness in the stars, and yet soften some of what is below so that we don't get this sense of, oh gosh, it's so crackly.
Yeah. And I also think that, like there's in that bottom, there's something white in the, like on the almost the third line on the left. Something white along right above the tree, whether it's rocks or something like that. But to me, that really pulls my eye to it just because of the color. And this piece of wood that angles up into it on the left. Did I say it wrong too? It's on the left side. And like that corner is the brightest area for the foreground. If that would have been like darker, and that might kind of clean it up. And look, yeah, it kind of does follow to where the rest of it was kind of dark and down, like we saw from in the border area, but that corner was not.
Right. Thank you, judges.
Tranquil Harbor, 78.
Okay, I can take this one. I think this was kind of a nice, I can feel like the time of day there, but we could, the colors might be punched up just a little bit more in the buildings, I think. And I wonder if we hadn't used a tripod to smooth out the water would make it more tranquil.
Yeah, I feel too that maybe the saturation in the sky is a little bit, we've got a lot of cyans coming through, and then we see the harshness of the transition in the blues from the royal blue to the greenish blue color. And to me, that lends to, think that was pushed just a little bit too far in the post-processing rather than a smooth, gradual transition in blues that we normally see in a sky.
Mhm. Yeah. Possible compositions would be stronger if that horizon line were a bit lower. We don't need as much of this water as we've gotten. So yeah, and I'm not sure we need everything. Figuring out what the central subject here is center of interest for me. Is the maker keeping this so tall because the sky is of interest, and yet leaving that mound on the right in there because they want that and the lighthouse, but to me, the lighthouse would be much stronger if it were on the right 1/3. And that if you cropped it up from the bottom and in from the right, but then the sky that you like so much isn't so prominent. But so yeah, so my mind is running around saying, what is the center of interest here? And so it falls short for me for that reason.
Plight of the Bumblebee. And this was an 81.
I certainly, I remember voting on this one, and if I'm not wrong, it was in a portrait of a pet, which seemed a little puzzling to me. I think it deserves to be better in the nature category where the
Agreed.
other hummingbird was, because you're not controlling lighting here. But you made an incredible capture. This thing is super sharp and well exposed, and to capture it with that bee right there. You could almost put this in the reportage category because of that moment in time and drama.
Mhm. Yeah, I was kind of held back by the over sharpening of it. I mean, it looks like it is like almost a wood carving from it's just a little bit over, and I'm seeing lines around the outside of the bird, like the dark line all the way around. And I kind of wish it was not so sharp.
Yeah, I think, again, I enjoyed the storytelling in this. I think this is a great capture. The thing I would also like to add is just watching those highlights on the back of the bird, taking just a little bit of that brightness down just a hair in those highlight areas.
You Shall Not Pass, 78.
In a reportage.
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and start talking about this one. The first thing I think of is the angle that this was taken and or cropping, just being that you look at the horizon line of the bottom of the door and the bottom of the barn there where the dog is standing on that angle. I would have liked to seen that squared up a little bit more, whether you're moving position or moving the crop a little bit. And then as well as, again, our eyes want to go to the brightest part, which is this door. I don't think you need all that door in there. The door to me is distracting and taking away from the dog.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of,
good.
I kind of
No,
took that as the do not pass, kind of like the big X on the door was like as a part of the story.
See, and I didn't get that at all. So that I'm glad you noticed that. But to me, it fell short in terms of reportage. To me, the title just didn't register with the look on the dog's face, and he doesn't look fierce. He doesn't look threatening. And add to that little stick coming into the left. My eye keeps going over there, so I pull it out. I'd put this in another category rather than reportage.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I don't know if there's any of the detail in the shadows of the dog's back, or in front of one of the ears looks a little bit blocked out, and I don't know if there's any details that can be brought out in those furry areas.
Time Capsule Treasures, 78.
I would have liked to, I enjoyed the storytelling here, and Time Capsule Treasures gave me a sense of what the story was and why these things were here. And I even think that those little specks of dirt kind of add to that story. If you look at the specks of dirt on the side of the right and on the ledger that's above, I think the black and white tonality is handled well, and the presentation as well. I think to me, the hardest part with this is I would have liked to have seen this sharp front to back. You know, we have I want to know more of what this dated paper is in the front. I keep wanting to look at it. So then because I look at it and it's out of focus, that bothers me. I think a better plane of focus on this would have helped this image.
And a crop that doesn't cut off the corner on that booklet.
Yeah, with the clip on.
No, at the right where that page goes off the edge. It feels a little uncomfortable to have cut that. Right.
I kind of also, you know, the darkness of the stamp and whatever's to the left of it, the black, you know, I kind of wonder if it was, if we could bring up the exposure enough to see the stamp or what's on the stamp.
Great, thank you, judges. Are there any images that you want to talk about that were not discussed?
Yes.
Let's see, can you show them to us on maybe
I
in
was
Zoom?
making a list.
All right.
Checking it twice.
Yeah, I thought, oh, this is one I could talk about.
All right, great. If you want to tell me a title, I will.
There's two of them that have the same thing that I wanted to talk about. So the first one was called Dying Light. And it was Gail holding a lantern. It was a black and white.
Oh, yeah.
It's the last one.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think for me, I really enjoyed the storytelling of this. I enjoyed the you know, the lantern, they put the candle in. I think that was handled well. For me, the problem that I had personally with this one is the amount of rim light that is so bright coming from behind. Why does she need a lantern when we've got so much light behind her? I would have liked to seen that light from the candle be a little bit more cast onto her face. And I think anytime you're, you know, the thumbnail images tell us you're putting something together. And I think anytime you're starting to go into that category, we start really analyzing the lighting. So to me, it was the lighting that was holding this back.
Right.
I've got one too. I can't remember the title of it, but it also it was in the artist category, and it had a river scene. It was
Yep.
coffee,
Wait.
morning coffee or something.
Wait,
Yep.
Yep, morning coffee on the river. Yeah.
can we keep
Artistry.
the dying light up for a second?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was Carrie's. Yeah.
Right, I know. I just noticed something when we were talking about this candle and the light cast onto it, you know, and that should have been the brighter side of the face than the other. But I also just noticed that there's a flame as catch lights in the eyes, and they're in the wrong position. Or at least the way I feel is that they would be in the wrong position for that, where the candle actually is. I feel like it should have been moved down lower. Sorry.
Okay, so this one, the first thing that struck me about it is there's discontinuity between the color of lights in it. We have in the background a low light golden hour soft feel, and in the coffee pot that has been placed in the foreground, we have this super white light that's coming from the far right. Now, the direction might be fine, but that color of white does not match the background. And so it creates this sense of this pot does not belong here. So when you're doing this kind of a composite, you got to make sure you get the color of white, the white balance, the tonalities in it to match. Also, we've got a bit of a sharp edge around the table where it's brought in. and yet a soft one on the back side of that, as if it's out of focus, and yet the geese on the river are perfectly sharp. So, I mean, those kinds of disharmonies catch the viewer and say this can't be real. So you want to be real careful of that.
Great. Any other images?
Yeah, I had
Oh.
another one, timeless mystery, something of life.
Of life.
something.
Yeah, that was one that I wanted to bring up as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Oh, you just passed it. It's down, it's got a orangey background. There.
You can go first, Tammy, since I went on the other one.
Okay, I actually really was enjoying this image. And like the composition of it, I think the grass was handled really well. I guess I just wanted to see a little bit more like highlighting on the, you know, like on the ruffles, you know, like just to bring up the lighting just a little bit more, and maybe get something around, you know, like the eyes, and just to get that to punch up just a little bit more.
Yeah, and the thing I wanted to say about this too is I did really enjoy the painting of this, and the style of this, everything about it, except for the fact of the lighting colors don't match. So I look at the back of the bird, and we've got almost a blue toned, cool toned lighting on the back of this bird, and such warm colors on the background and in the grasses in front. You know, if you could bring those color tonalities together a little bit more, I think this one would do really well.
Great.
Any other images? And I thank you, judges, very much for your time and your critiques. For members that were able to jump in, they've been able to hear this, and this does go on a members only site, so that they members that could not join in for the Zoom can listen to the entire competition. And thank all of you. We will let the judges go now, and we're going to just put the winning images up and commend the makers. So thank you very much, judges. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been an
Anytime.
enjoyable morning.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
It
so
was
much.
fun. You had some beautiful images
Yep,
to
yep,
get us
Agree.
going this morning.
yep. Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
So we do always ask our judges to leave once we are not kind of anonymous anymore. I will just put into the chat, we do have 2 non-member awards. So these were for the highest scoring non-members. And then we're going to try to sneak through and figure out how to display our members.
Lisa, if you get the chance, can you put the 96 image up? I wasn't online when it showed, and I'd really love to see a 96.
Yes. Here, I'll display it through here so you can see it through Zoom. That was the 96 image, the calm before the storm. And that was challenged up to a 96. It started as an 89. It was challenged up to a 96.
Is the maker on the call by chance?
No, they are not.
Doubt it.
Curious if it's a composite or if it's an actual shot. It's gorgeous. Thank you.
why it's not showing me more images.
Or others non-members?
No. Huh. Maybe this is, Kevin, does this look right to you? Yeah, I guess this is. Kevin, do you think you can read these for us? Can you see these 4 images?
Yes.
They're on the Zoom.
Okay. Go for it, Kevin.
All right. So at 85, it was Steel Magnolias.
Oh, wait, you're far away all of a sudden.
Oh, my voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That's much better.
All right. At 85, Steel Magnolias. At 81, Dewdrop. Also at 81, Plight of the Bumblebee. And 81, Calling the Clan.
And they are all Stephen Labkoff. Is that, am I saying that correctly?
You are.
Okay, very nice.
Congratulations, Stephen.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I didn't expect that today, that's for sure.
Well, we hope to have improved your day.
You did. Believe it or not,
Good.
I got 2 more image comps later today, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
you guys moved this one from last month, so this one's sort of
Yeah.
a mix up.
Well, you know, people get sick, stuff happens. What can
Oh,
we
yeah,
say?
yeah. Yeah, but now I've got 3 image comps in one day, so. And 2 of
Just
them,
think how spectacular the day can become. You can, like, you know, keep it in your date book.
but I can't be in 2 places at once anymore because they can't, now they're going back to in person and I can't do Zoom for all of them.
They're doing it in person.
They are.
How odd.
Wow.
Our seasonals will remain on Zoom, and the reason has nothing to do with, you know, the pandemic anymore. It's because we can get judges that are in DC and Michigan and all over. So our
Mhm.
convention will be in person, but the seasonals will remain on Zoom because of the quality of judges that we can get.
Exactly.
All right, well, great.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Kevin. And I
Good.
will get this. Stephen, are you still putting these on YouTube for CTPPA?
I'm happy to, if someone
Okay.
wants to get the Zoom files, sure.
Sure.
Or
Okay.
a link to them and I'll download them and then cut them and put them up.
Okay.
Well, I got a question